Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video in my Mira's Finest series. This time I'm going to be fighting Nardacyon the Shadowless using Doug, and just like always I'm going to be talking about Doug as a character and then the specific build that I am going to be running. So I want to start off this discussion by hopping into the arts that Doug has available. So Doug actually comes with a decent amount of pretty good arts. In terms of buffing arts, he only has Astral Heal and Astral Purge, but those are both really good arts for yourself, and that they Astral Heal is a good healing art, scales well with potential, and it also has immediate reuse for its secondary cooldown, and then Astral Purge cleanses debuffs. And then in a party setting, these are made quite useful by the aura Astral Horizon, which lets Astral Heal and Astral Purge affect all allies, which is actually pretty handy if you want to run Doug as a more supportive role. Also following the supportive role, Doug gets Gravity Blast, which is a pretty good topple art. It does have immediate reuse as its secondary cooldown, though you have to wait for the projectile to actually reach the enemy in order for the topple to take effect. He also comes with a few pretty good debuffs in Myopic Screen. In Subterfuge, Pathogen Blast isn't that good, but the real good art that he has for debuffing is Phenomenon, which inflicts ether resistance down, which can be very useful if you want to run him in conjunction with your own Core Crusher build. Other than that, he has some pretty good offensive arts as well. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and talk about his other auras real quick while I'm on the topic of defensive, which is the other big one is Geolibrium, which is very useful for this build because it gives beam resistance and it gives you passive healing. But just the passive healing on its own is really nice to have in a lot of situations, and that alone makes it a pretty good defensive aura. So getting into Doug offensively now, as far as arts goes, he has Starfall Rondo and Starfall Blade, which are both pretty nice melee arts, nothing too special about them. But he also comes with Starlight Duster and Ether Blast, which, yeah, there's Ether Blast, which when combined with Phenomenon can actually get you a pretty decent potential stacking build with Doug if that's what you choose to run. He also has Galactic Cataclysm, but that's not too good because it's a single hit TP art and it is locked to Beam attribute, which Doug does not have an easy way to inflict resistance to, attribute resistance of. Next, to kind of go through his skills, he doesn't have anything too spectacular in his skills, aside from Aura Assault, which is a amazing skill. It boosts melee attack and accuracy by 30% when you have an Aura active, which you should always have active. And this is to base damage of both TP and non-TP arts, making a very good skill. Aside from that, his other interesting skills of note would be High Tension and Night Soul, which give him extra TP. And this would be nice if you don't have TP up gear and you still want to have over 3000 TP as your base in order to make maintaining overdrive easier. He doesn't really have any other skills that are too spectacular. He has Inner Search, which can be nice, but it's not going to be super useful for this build because I'm not stacking too hard on potential. And now I'm going to go ahead and get into the build that I'm going to be using for this fight. My resistances are pretty standard for my Nardacyon setup. I'm running the 200 stun resistance needed to make it so I don't have to worry about ever getting inflicted with stun. You can take a quick look at my gear now if you care. I'm going to be running a Gravity Photon Saber, and the reason for this is that Starlight Duster inflicts Gravity resistance down 5, which is a substantial increase in damage to an enemy it's a substantial increase in damage, and Nardacyon already has relatively low gravity resistance, which means that you can do quite a lot of damage after you've inflicted the debuff. Other than that, just trying, you do actually need a nullified gravity reflect if you're going to be using gravity for this fight. During phase 2, when Nardacyon uses upshift, he is granted a gravity reflect, so that's something to be aware of. My ray gun's nothing too special, just running double potential and then night vision, some melee attack up so I can do good damage. You kind of already saw my arts, but just to kind of go over them quickly, Geolibrium will give me beam resistance and let me heal my HP over time. Astral Heal is good for heal in a pinch. Astral Purge is my cleanse art, and it's also a immediate reuse secondary tertiary cooldown green art, which is nice for building overdrive count. Phenomenon is my purple of choice. It's nothing particularly special for this build because I'm not using Ether, but my accuracy is not high enough on the range side to be hitting with the 3-hit purple arts, so Phenomenon is just the next best thing that I have. Starfall Blade and Rondo are my attacks that scale with melee attack up, and then Starlight Duster is the main TP art that I will be using, and it lets me inflict gravity resistance down while being a relatively good art itself. I'm also just running Galactic Cataclysm because I didn't have anything else to run on the last slot, but I probably will not be using it much. And I kind of already went over my skills. Supreme Sword, Aura Assault, and Inner Search are all here just to kind of boost my damage a bit. And then Night Soul is just giving me a bit more TP to work with for starting and getting the overdrive going. With all that out of the way, I think it's time to get in the build. This is gonna probably not be a very long video, or at least a long fight, just simply because Nardacyon is not very resilient to the Photon Saber, partially because of Geolibrium being just a very nice aura for dealing with him, and then him being relatively squishy compared to some of the other super bosses. So Starlight Duster is actually pretty good for building overdrive count because it is pretty high hit count, as well as Starfall Rondo. So with those two combined, you can actually build up your overdrive count pretty fast. And Astral Purge is pretty important for this fight because as you can see, I already got inflicted with beam resistance down, and it lets me cleanse that off and not die. It also lets me cleanse off the Blaze and Shock that I'm going to be getting inflicted with throughout the fight, so I don't take too much passive damage from those, which I would run a risk of otherwise because I do not have max resistance for either electric or thermal. So I almost have my overdrive count build, which means I'm probably going to start going for damage here pretty soon. Going to want to cleanse off that beam resistance down, activate Tertiary on my aura, and I can go ahead and start going for damage. So as you can see, I'm actually doing pretty good damage with the gravity resistance down from Starlight Duster, which is always nice. Go ahead and just buff up, and go ahead and keep doing damage. So we're in phase 2 now, so this is where the gravity resistance down comes in handy. I was not quite close enough to use my TP art there. Messed that up, but it's not that big of a deal. I don't think I actually got the cleanse off there, so I'm going to activate it again. And just go ahead and get back up close and start going back in with damage. So this should inflict gravity resistance down, so I can just go ahead and keep going with the damage. And we should be entering phase 3 soon. Yep, there we go. And Nardacyon's defenses go down during phase 3, so this should wrap up pretty quickly at this point. His accuracy also goes up, and I'm missing a little bit. Shouldn't be too big of a problem though. And there we go. So that was Nardacyon on foot solo with Doug. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about it, so I'm probably just going to go ahead and end the video here. And I hope that you enjoyed. Have a good one.